Good morning, everybody. This is going to be a pretty quick session today. I am doing a meeting for the day, so I'm just jumping out really quick so I could bring you guys your morning live. And so, again, it's going to be kind of quick. I'm just going to give you some quick tips and points that I've learned on time management. I am often asked by a lot of people, how do I do it all, right? How did I juggle everything while my husband was sick and I continued to run two companies? So, how is it that everything just didn't fall apart? There's a lot to it, actually. And before I get started, let me introduce myself. My name is Evelyn Knight. I am the founder and CEO of Childcare Business Professionals. I'm the host of the Childcare Business Coach podcast, which is back. So make sure you listen to my new episodes and subscribe and give me a review. I love the positive reviews. They are so helpful and I absolutely appreciate them. And I'm also a child care center owner. I am in the field. Sorry, guys, I don't know what just happened, but there we go. My screen just took off on me. I fixed it. But I'm also an owner, like most of you. So I know what it's like to be in the trenches. And during my husband's illness, most of you who've been following me, you know that my husband recently passed away. And for about 3 years before he passed, he was very, very I was his full-time caregiver. Really 6 months. I mean, the first 6 months it wasn't quite as bad, but the last 6 months I was really his full-time caregiver. So there are some time management hacks that I'm going to go over with you guys. And I have a podcast episode on time management, other videos. So I'm not going to go too in depth since I've talked about this before. But when I was thinking about creating this for you, I love reading your guys' posts on Facebook, and some nights when I'm just, I don't know, just not doing much, I just go through and see what is going on in the world of ECE. That being said, let me also really quick let you guys know I am doing a free seminar starting on December 6th on how to recruit in the times of COVID. So I've really been doing a lot of studying on how are we going to recruit during this time, right? During living in the world of COVID, how are we going to recruit and keep hiring when I know it's hard for us right now. So starting December 6th, I'm going to be hosting a seminar. I'm using my psychology background with my business background, doing a ton of research for you guys, collaborating with other leaders in different industries as well as our own to figure out how are we going to fix this problem. And I'm becoming pixelated. Sorry, guys. I don't usually like using green screen background, but like I said, I'm in a meeting today, so I had to find a corner to record this in. So again, let's talk about time management. The biggest thing is that we are interrupted so often and we don't respect our own time. We don't honor ourselves and our own time. When things got really difficult for me, I realized that I had to stick to my schedule. I had to literally put everything in my calendar. And if you ever look at a day I'll show you guys an overview of my calendar. Let me just close that up. My calendar, I don't know, you guys can't really see it, but it is packed. My calendar is jam packed and it looks like I'm just constantly have appointments and whatnot. But what it actually is, I schedule everything into my calendar, everything, just the paperwork I need to do, any kind of budget I need to create, the classes, the research time to create the class that I'm doing for you guys on December 6th, right? All of that is budgeted into my calendar, right? And the other thing that I learned, one of the biggest things I learned that I really want to challenge you to think about, each task will take as long as you give yourself to do, right? Each task will take as long as you allow it. So I often hear people saying things like, oh, we need a year to plan on this and we need this. But honestly, I sit back and ask myself, do you really? Do you really? If you give yourself a year to implement and come up with a task, it's going to take you a year to do it. If you give yourself 3 months, it's going to take you 3 months. And it does not mean the quality of work is any different. What happens when you shorten those periods is it helps you to get laser focused. The other thing about shortening those periods, though, is you have to be very organized, right? And that is something I can absolutely help you with. If you're not organized enough to know how to do that, I am not naturally organized enough. I am not naturally that together. I've had to teach myself and learn. So that is one of the things I do teach. But I want to challenge you to think about that. Every task is going to take as long as you give it, but you have to give yourself a deadline. If you don't give yourself a deadline, 5 years from now, you're going to find information that, man, I should have worked on that. I never got that done, right? So you've got to give yourself a deadline and give yourself that time and honor your own schedule. You have to show yourself the same amount of respect you would show your boss. If your boss told you, here's your task, it must be done by December 1st, right? You're going to get that turned in by December 1st. When we're in school, many of us have gone to college. We had deadlines. Papers have to be due at this time. We got them done. But first of all, you don't give yourself a deadline. Secondly, you don't honor it, right? So you need to treat yourself with the same respect that you would treat your college professor or your boss, right? You are your boss. You do work for yourself. So I want you to really think about that. The next thing is, and I think the biggest thing I see in early childhood education as leaders is that you let your staff interrupt you way, way too much, right? Your door is an open door and they come throughout the day and interrupt you over and over and over. You do not respect your time. So you have not taught your staff to respect your time. And I really want to stress that. I'm going to say that again. You do not respect your time. So you have not taught your staff to respect your time. It's not their fault. That is where you need to take ownership. You need to teach your staff to protect your time. I will be doing my organizational chart training again in January, so that it really will help you guys on learning how do you respect your time? How do you teach them, right? You create an organization that teaches them that your time is valuable. You have to teach them that. And it takes a lot. You'd be surprised. But I'll get into that a little bit more. So what I challenge you to ask yourself, whenever somebody comes and asks you for something, I want you to first and foremost know what is the queen bee in your center, right? And if you haven't heard me use that term, it's your superpower, your North Star. A lot of people use a lot of different terms for it, right? What is the main driving force, the center of your vision, your why in your childcare center? Okay. You've got to know that. Second thing, once you know that, every time somebody comes and requests something of you, you got to ask yourself, can I say no to this? Does this serve my queen? Or does this serve my North Star, my vision, whatever you want to call it? Does it serve me? Right? What is going to be the result? Is it really a game changer if you say no? I mean, if your teacher comes and tells you, I can't find paper towels, do you really need to stop doing what you're doing to go find paper towels? Is it really going to make a difference in the quality of your program, making them do it themselves or delegating it to somebody else, right? Every time you stop a task and restart, you are losing so much time, and time costs money, right? And just your sanity, even money aside, your sanity alone is so important. So ask yourself, does it serve our main goal? And can I say no? If you cannot say no, then what you really need to do is figure out how can you multiply your time, right? And in order to learn how to multiply your time, you have to figure out what can you delegate? Where can you duplicate yourself so that you're not the only one doing all of this, right? And then you need to figure out what can you automate, okay? So automating will help you to make sure everything is getting done the way you want it to get done, right? A lot of us are so afraid to delegate and to allow others to take on tasks. We're so afraid if we don't stay in control that things won't get done correctly. But the reason that is because you really haven't clearly taught you want done. That's okay if you want things done your way. But I do caution you on that too, because sometimes our staff does have better ideas. So You need to be focused on the end result. As long as the end result is what you want it to be and it's done correctly, then we need to let go of the process sometimes. But sometimes our processes absolutely have to be followed, right? Which is something, again, in my org chart training, we do go over on how can you create this? How do you do this? How do you make sure everything is done the way you want it done? That is where you have to have established very clear expectations of your staff and documented procedures, right? And you need to train them on it. People don't just read manuals. You can have the best employee manual in the world, but nobody's going to read it. So you have to create trainings that revolve around it. And yes, I know it sounds like more work to get to this place, but I can tell you, I only work now about 5 hours a week at my childcare center. Some weeks I work more. Some weeks I do have to end up working 20 hours or so. But I would have never gotten to this point in my life had I not taken the time to automate. We also often hear people saying you have to slow down in order to speed up, right? This is one of those times. And without these hacks and these things that I have done, I would have never gotten through the time as a caregiver to my husband. So again, I am in a meeting today, so I'm going to cut this really short. I'm going to end it here. I hope that has helped. I will put in the links, my episode to the podcast I did on time management, so that you guys can get more information. I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful week.